It was supposed to be an ordinary afternoon in Washington, D.C. Secret Service teams moved to the White House halls. Staff prepared for routine meetings, and former President Donald Trump was getting ready for a private diplomatic discussion that had been scheduled quietly off the public calendar. But nothing could have prepared him for what happened next, because on that day, two of the most famous men on the planet walked to the White House gates: Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and global football superstar Cristiano Ronaldo. And they didn't come quietly. Their entrance became one of the most talked-about surprise visits Washington had ever seen. IT began with a convoy unlike anything the city had witnessed. A fleet of black armored SUVs rolled down Pennsylvania Avenue, escorted by police motorcycles and surrounded by an unusual crowd of onlookers trying to catch a glimpse. The streets buzzed with speculation. Who was inside? Why was the security so intense? Reporters scrambled, snapping photos and making calls. Even Secret Service agents exchanged confused looks. This wasn't scheduled. This wasn't briefed. Whatever was happening was big. Inside the White House, Donald Trump stood near the Oval Office entrance, expecting a small delegation of Middle Eastern advisors. But as he looked out the window and saw the massive convoy, his eyebrows rose. "What is this?" he asked, half curious and half amused. Staff members shook their heads. No one knew. But moments later, as the car doors opened and the first figure stepped out, the entire room went silent. IT was Mohammed bin Salman, the Saudi crown prince himself, surrounded by a full formation of royal security. The sight alone was enough to shock everyone. His visit to Washington had been rumored for months, but nothing had been confirmed. And certainly no one expected this entrance. But before anyone could react, the second SUV door opened, and another figure stepped out, wearing a tailored suit, sunglasses, and that unmistakable confident stride. Cristiano Ronaldo. Even the security teams paused for a moment. Ronaldo's presence in Washington hadn't been announced. There were no rumors, no leaks, nothing. His arrival beside the Crown Prince turned the mysterious visit into a global spectacle. Reporters who had been whispering moments before now erupted in excitement. Cameras clicked like machine guns as crowds pushed against police lines just to catch a glimpse of the football legend as the Crown Prince and Ronaldo walked side by side toward the White House entrance. Donald Trump stood inside, shaking his head, a grin spreading across his face. "You've got to be kidding me," he muttered. "This is unbelievable." When the doors opened and the two men walked in, the first words out of Trump's mouth were exactly what millions would repeat afterward. "Well, this is a shock." For a moment, the three men looked at each other. One of the most powerful political leaders in the Middle East, the most famous football player alive, and the former president of the United States. It felt like a scene from a movie, but it was only the beginning. After greetings, handshakes, and laughter that echoed through the foyer, they moved into a private meeting room. No press, no cameras, just a handful of close advisors. What was said inside that room remains a mystery, but here's what insiders later revealed. The Crown Prince and Ronaldo had come to discuss a series of high-profile global projects, sporting events, tourism expansions, and massive international partnerships involving the United States, Saudi Arabia, and several major European organizations. Cristiano Ronaldo wasn't there as an athlete. He was there as a global ambassador, a symbol of international influence, a bridge between cultures. And the Crown Prince knew exactly how powerful that symbolism was. While the meeting went on, news had already broken worldwide. Social media exploded within seconds. Photos leaked of Ronaldo entering the White House. Within minutes, millions were sharing and reposting the images. Commentators speculated wildly. Why was he there? What did this mean? Why had the visit been so secret? Inside the meeting, the atmosphere was surprisingly relaxed. Trump, never shy about speaking freely, joked about Ronaldo's popularity. "You know," he told him, "if you ever ran for president anywhere, you'd probably win in 5 minutes." Ronaldo laughed, replying humbly, but the Crown Prince nodded. He understood the truth behind the joke. Ronaldo wasn't just a footballer. He was a global brand, a cultural force, a diplomatic asset. The discussion shifted to global sports influence, the rise of Saudi Arabia in international events, and how partnerships could reshape the future of entertainment and tourism. While details remained classified, insiders said the conversation was smooth, respectful, and surprisingly forward-thinking. It wasn't politics. It was vision. After the meeting, Trump personally guided the Crown Prince and Ronaldo through the White House's historic rooms. The three men walked past portraits of former leaders, discussing everything from economic strategy to football rivalries. At one point, Ronaldo even stopped in the Roosevelt Room to admire the historical artifacts. Trump laughed, telling him, "Don't worry, Cristiano, we won't let you kick any of these." What happened next became the highlight of the visit. On the South Lawn, as they walked toward the garden area, a crowd of White House staff had gathered, quietly hoping to catch a moment with Ronaldo. The football legend didn't disappoint. He shook hands, posed for a few quick photos, and even exchanged greetings in multiple languages. The Crown Prince smiled, observing how easily Ronaldo connected with people, another reminder of why he had brought him. Meanwhile, Trump watched with amusement. "You're causing a riot," he joked. Ronaldo shrugged with a grin. "I'm used to it," he replied as the sun dipped behind the White House. The convoy prepared to depart. The Crown Prince and Ronaldo thanked Trump for the unexpected but warm reception. Trump, still impressed, told them the visit would be remembered for years. And he was right. What began as a private meeting transformed into a global headline. A moment where politics, royalty, and sports collided in a way no one could have predicted. When the convoy rolled away from the White House, crowds lined the streets once again, cheering and capturing videos. Reporters delivered breathless commentary. Social media went into overdrive. Analysts debated the meaning of the visit. But one thing was clear. It was a moment unlike any other. Donald Trump stood at the doorway watching the motorcade fade into the distance. "Incredible," he said quietly. "Just incredible." And that day became one of the most unforgettable surprise appearances in modern political and celebrity history. A day when a former U.S. president, the future king of Saudi Arabia, and one of the greatest athletes of all time met under one roof. A day filled with mystery, power, and global attention. A day that reminded the world just how unpredictable and extraordinary international influence can be. And somewhere in the echo of that afternoon, one image remains. Donald Trump, genuinely shocked, watching as the Saudi Crown Prince and Cristiano Ronaldo arrive at the White House in a moment that will be talked about for years to come.